Okay. Yes. So welcome to this session again. So our agenda for today, first of all, we will start with the mentor's introduction. For now, Yemi is the only mentor that is already there, so she will be doing her introduction. Then we will go to the president's report. And then we will do the founder's hot seat. And on the hot seat today, we have Sally, we have Michael, and we have Terence. And then Yemi will be doing her talk on the vision and mission. And then we will close with a Q&A session to her. So basically, this is the agenda for today. So if unless there is any comment from any of the founders, I would suggest that we get started. So any comment? No? Okay, so let's just get started with the president's report. So we have 3 teams. And each team have elected its presidents already. So is any of the presidents on the call today? I think I've seen George, who is one of the presidents. The other was, I think Terence is one of the presidents as well. Is Terence on the call already? No, Terence is not here. And the last one was Ibrahim. Ibrahim, I've not seen him. Not sure that he's in the call. Let me double check. No, Ibrahim is not here. So George, looks like you're the only president on the call today. So do you want to do your report?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I will do the report of my group. My group is the Swordfish team. We have taken that name. And last week, we have made a kind of some brush up session. We thought that each member of the group could be able to be aware of the challenge that the program will bring us, the challenge in terms of schedule, the challenge in terms of business acumen, and also to get some insights about the future steps in the program. So we have decided to work 1 time a week on Friday. Within the week, there could be other work group session, but the formal one is the Friday. So within the week, if a member of the group is interested to discuss about a topic or a team, he can easily send a WhatsApp call to the other person of the group, and we will start to consider it. I noticed that some of members of my group have started to do the office hours, and I can say, okay, let's say it's a kind of a synthesis of our activities within the week. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, George, for your report. I've seen Terence that have joined. Hello, Terence. Can you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Terence. So we are on the second point of the agenda.
You, sir. Okay.
Okay, great, Terence. I was saying that we are on the second point of the agenda, the president's report. So George just did a report of his team activity last week. So would you want to give a brief report of your team?
Yes, I do have something I can share with you.
Okay.
There's 6 of us in FI Diamond Group. However, only 3 were active, including myself. Others did not manage to join the meeting we had on Sunday, on the evening of Sunday. But
Okay.
I managed to connect with at least 2 of my colleagues, and they gave me everything that was in line with the agenda for the meeting. So we cover topics concerning what businesses they do. First and foremost, I'll start with Jules. Yeah, Tom, I hope I'm pronouncing that well, but he says he's an investment banker and he used to run an investment bank, and he has decided to start a digital bank, and which is an investment platform. He's been working on the technology and platform for a year. It's 80% complete now. The success he's gotten so far is that he was able to build the platform with the right expertise and with all the functionalities needed. The challenges he's had were that there wasn't a proper and straightforward technology ecosystem that was working. It's hard to know who's doing technology space in Cameroon. It's difficult to find people to work with in Cameroon, to sum that up. But it was much easier for him to get people to work with in Lagos, where he has stayed for the past 15 years now, as he told me. So he also explained a challenge about revenue payment collection being very difficult since many people do not have bank accounts. And he did say that it's similar to a decentralized finance app concept, except it works in the real economy. And his way of doing business with this app is that he lists an investable company based off of his experience, collects a client savings and invests those savings into the business or the company that you would have listed on the platform. He then returns the profit to the client, whilst the investment banker keeps the fees charged. He himself is the investment banker. So I took the secret sauce from his business to be him using his experience to list the companies that clients should definitely invest in to get the best profits. This is Jules Fiatam's business, though I didn't get the name for the platform. But the next person I went on to talk to was before I get to that, I'll talk about myself before I talk about the person I talked to. I represent an app named Connect Me. It connects clients to service providers or anyone in the service sector. We're looking at people like graphic designers, those in tutoring, those who offer DSTV payments, those manicure, those hairdressing. So you find that it connects clients to service providers. I managed to list down the successes, which are not quite much really, but I managed to secure a team with enough experience and expertise to develop the application. Not that it's developed yet, it's still at proposal stage. However, the challenges I faced is that I've not managed to secure funding for Connect Me for the past 2 years. It's been stuck as a proposal, especially with the economic conditions in Zimbabwe. So the secret sauce to my app is that subscribed clients have lesser transaction fees compared to unsubscribed ones. Subscribed clients will always get the most affordable service providers available to them. Subscribed clients have a better user experience finding service providers than unsubscribed ones. So it's a matter of using a reliable, a filter score to find the best service provider at the cost they can afford to pay. However, on the other hand, subscribed service providers get exclusive marketing, a verification badge, a full profile displayed to clients, and they're also able to respond back to client negotiation requests. I then spoke to Jules concerning Connect Me, and he said that they tried to develop a similar app, except the challenge they had is that in Lagos, there are many uneducated service providers. So it proved to be much of a challenge to deploy an app like this to them. Not that it was very much exactly like what we do, but like what I'm offering, but just to say it's the skeletal function was similar, except how we solved the problem was different, or how we approached the problem was different. The challenges he also faced for his app was that the cost of marketing the project was very high. And however, he did say, we did conclude with this, the business idea depends on context. There's an element of context in any project. What works in Zimbabwe may not be what works in Lagos. So these are the conclusions we had, or this is the conclusion we had towards Connect Me. Then the last person I spoke to was actually Eric Ashu. So Eric Ashu gave me his business idea. He told me about his business, and he said he's from Cameroon and he's working on a startup called Marché Central. He said Marché, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry, but Marché Central is a social commerce platform that enables African vendors and consumers to adapt to e-commerce, showcase their skills, and monetize that accumulated knowledge on other resources. So he did explain this to me, and he went on to further tell me about the successes he had gotten so far. He said so far what was going on about his startup is that he understood it and knows exactly what to do to make it a success. And he said that things he needs to improve is that he needs funding to finish the minimum viable product upgrade for marketing. He says that he's run out of money. Then the challenge he has faced is that he needs funds. So this is the meeting that we did on Sunday. I of course forwarded the minutes yesterday because it's our group, it's our policy as a working group that in case some of the members do not join a meeting, we do their minutes or something or anything in line with the agenda we had for for that specific meeting on that specific day that missed. So this is the report I can give to you as forwarded to you last night.
Yeah, thank you very much, Terence, indeed, and I received it. Thank you for that. Okay, and I think Ibrahim has joined. Ibrahim is the president of the third group. Hello, Ibrahim. Can you hear me? Hello, Ibrahim. I see that you are on mute. Wow, looks like Ibrahim is still facing challenges with his connection because I can see his camera is not on yet and his sound is not activating, obviously. Oh, hello, Ibrahim. Okay, so let's see if Ibrahim will be able to connect. Okay, so before we dive into the founders hot seat, let us all the founders seems, I mean, most of the founders seem to be here right now. Let's give it the floor to Yemi for her introduction. So Yemi, do you want to go ahead with your introduction to our founders?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Yemi Oluseun. I'm Nigerian. I'm Nigerian British. I have spent the last 14 years working on growth and go-to-market projects for primarily fintech and financial services companies. Over the past year, I've been working a lot more with smaller businesses and early stage startups, helping them with their growth, product market fit, and go-to-market. So I'm glad to be here to talk about vision and mission because this is so dear to my heart. I feel like this is one of the topics that is glossed over because it's seen as not tangible or just HR mumbo jumbo. It's like, who cares about vision, mission? I want to go conquer the world and build this big, massive unicorn. But I found that in my experience that the vision and the mission is the bedrock or the cornerstone for anything that lasts. Without a clear vision, a clear mission that you can articulate clearly, you find it hard to attract resources, attract employees, or attract anything really good, or even more importantly, repel things that you don't want as well. So this is why I have put my hand up to come speak at this session, because I think it's so glossed over, but it's so important and fundamental. So I'm glad to be here, happy to be here to share my experiences, and looking forward to the talk and to hearing your pitches as well. So thank you very much, everybody.
Great. Thank you very much, Yemi, for making the time for this session with our founders today. Okay, so let's go straight into the hot seat. So on the hot seat today, we should have Sally, Michael, and Terence. I think you guys are all here. Are you ready? And Sally, do you want to go first?
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the floor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sally Tabe, and my startup, Happy Me Health, is developing healthier alternatives to help people aged 20 to 45 manage and prevent diabetes, hypertension, cancer, breast cancer, to be particular, with our well-packaged organic products, natural health consultancy, and our restaurant. The challenge I'm facing right now is having a lot of fertilized products in our local markets. So that's why I'm trying to raise funds to help me acquire farms, get all the resources needed for the restaurants and all the likes. Our secret sauce to me is running an NGO that carries out free diagnosis. This gives us an opportunity to connect directly with our customers. So that's where we are right now with Happy Me Health.
Great, thank you very much, Sally, for your pitch. Yemi, any feedback to Sally?
Yeah, sure. So Sally, thank you for pitching. And I know this is still very early. This is only your second session, right? Is that correct, Bennett? This is the second one, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so fair enough. So I'll bear that in mind, because usually when pitches are done, I expect to see a slide or decks. Well, I imagine you guys are still working on that. That's fine. I was clear on what the problem is. So it sounds to me like I think the problem is that you want to encourage more organic produce to be eaten because you're worried that people are eating chemicals and it's causing disease. Is that correct? Is that essentially the premise of it? Yeah. I think you could do a bit more work making that problem statement clearer, because you talked about farms, talked about diabetes and cancer, and it's like there are too many diseases. And then the age range was quite wide as well. So 20 to 40 is like, why that age range? It wasn't clear to me. It's like, are you saying those diseases only affect those people? So I think there's work to be done on really defining that problem statement. If it's a case of, I want to improve organic, I want to provide organic foods to people at affordable prices so that it prevents diseases, then say that. I wasn't convinced on the demographic and also on the specific diseases as well. The solution wasn't too clear to me. So it's like, are you going to be the one that's creating the farms, or are you going to be investing in farms? Are you going to be, I wasn't sure what the solution was going to be. I also wasn't clear on the business model. So are you, again, going to be the one that, am I giving you this money so you can go start this organic farm and then sow the seeds, and then I have to wait for harvest time to come, then you package it up and then sell it? Or at what point do I start to see money coming to me, right? Then I wasn't also clear on the traction or the progress you have made so far in that process. And also you didn't give me any asks, right? So those 5 points I ran through was really the kind of things I expect to hear in a pitch, right? Is I want you to be clear on the problem that you're solving, right? Be clear on the solution you're bringing to market. Be clear on the business model or the revenue model, so how you're going to make money. Be clear on the traction you've made. And I know you're still early, but you still have some traction, right? Because hopefully the traction could be something like, I come from a lineage of farmers. My grandfather was a farmer, my mother was a farmer, so I've been around farming all my life. It could be that. It could be, I have a degree in farming. It could be, I have a community. So what qualifies you to solve this problem? That didn't come through for me. I don't think you asked me anything, so there was no ask. in the pitch that you gave. So those are the 5 things I was kind of missing, and those are core to any pitch. So, but I think it's a great idea. So on that basis, it's a 2, but as I say, it's very early, Sally. I'm sure in the process of Founders Institute, you'll get that all dialed in and refined, and it'll be good to go. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
You're
much, Amy.
welcome.
Great, thank you, Yemi, for your feedback to Sally. Next, Michael. Michael, are you here, and are you ready for your 60-second pitch? Hello, Michael, you might be on mute. We cannot hear you.
I think I scared Michael away.
No, no. Let me just double check. I think he's on mute because I thought that he was trying to speak, but we cannot hear him. So, let me double check. Michael. Oh, he's actually on then. Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
Ok, bonsoir. Je disais, je vais m'exprimer en français.
No, I can't speak no French.
Michael, this time around you have to try English because Yemi is our only mentor here today, and she's 100% English. So this is the opportunity. Yeah, just 1 minute. Just try the best you can. No worries.
Okay, so I'll try. Thanks for giving me the floor. My name is Taku Samgu Michael Marus. I'm in Cameroon. I live in Cameroon. I'm 32 years old, and I work on in a startup to provide agribusiness. This night, I want to show you my project, whose name is Schooldeep. Schooldeep is an educational platform that aims to create an interactive online ecosystem, bringing together students, trainer, teacher, school, parent, and different services for the education sector. All is to simplify communications by encouraging collaboration and sharing of educational resources among all stakeholders. So it was created in, how can I say that? The main mission of Schooldeep is to facilitate learning access to the various opportunities that exist. And
Michael, you're cutting out. Michael, you're cutting out, and it's the best parts that are cutting out as well. Say that again because you were cutting out. The main aim of
the main missions of Schooldeep is to facilitate learning access to the various professional growth opportunities that exist and still remain difficult to access for a good populations. This is
and still remain difficult to access for whole population?
To a big part of populations.
Can you help me, Bernard? What does
they
that
don't
mean?
have access.
Hello, I think
they don't have access to good opportunities.
A large majority of the population still do not have access to these possibilities. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. And so how are you going to solve the problem, Michael?
We're going to solve the problem to bring to all these people's social network digital educations. We want to provide how to say that. We want it's difficult. We want to provide.
Say it in French and then I will translate for me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
En fait, Access voudrait proposer à ces gens un réseau à travers un réseau social dédié à l'éducation où les parents pourront interagir avec les responsables d'école et les élèves également.
Okay, so the idea is to set up an educational social network where all the stakeholder, meaning the student themselves, the teachers, but also parents who interact in the context and with the goal of helping the student better learn.
Okay.
Vas-y, Michael.
OK. Donc, à ce jour, le projet School Access a débuté, ça fait 3 mois aujourd'hui. Nous sommes sur le terrain en train de faire des prospections et on a plutôt de très bons retours de la part des parents qui se disent favorables à l'initiative, surtout qu'on leur propose la possibilité également, la possibilité de préfinancer les études de leurs enfants, moyennant des cotisations journalières.
Okay, so he said that they started 3 months ago, and for now they are on the field engaging a stakeholder, meaning potential customers, potential students and parents, in order to present the opportunity and also explain to them some benefit that their solution would be offering, like helping them to raise money in order to finance the education of the student.
Okay. Thank you. Cool. Is that it?
D'autres points, Michael, que tu veux souligner sur ta startup? Allô, Michael?
I think it's frozen.
Oui, je vous écoute.
Oui, est-ce qu'il y a d'autres points que tu veux ajouter sur ton pitch avant qu'elle te fasse le feedback?
Non, j'ai fait le tour. J'ai fait le tour de mon
Okay,
pitch.
no, he said basically this is where he is at this point.
Okay. So sounds good. Thank you, Michael, for pitching. I really appreciate you trying in English as well. I know how hard it is. I try to speak Spanish sometimes and it's horrible. So thank you. So great idea. I think still a 2 as well. It would have been nice to see some visuals. Again, I know it's early days and you guys are still starting. So as soon as you can, please get that pitch deck started. The idea is to essentially educate people in rural communities using social media, or people that don't have access to education, using social learning. I think it's great, but I have a few problems with that. Is how are you going to reach them with social media, right? Because do they have internet? Do they have access to devices? Is that going to be a barrier? And then also I think it feels too broad right now. You said education is like, is it on specific topics? Because usually this kind of things tends to be, we're going to teach children under 5 or under 10 maths so that they can pass their SATs or pass their entrance exams to get into secondary school. There tends to be a clearer kind of pathway. This still feels quite loose. It just felt like education. Education is just, I feel, too broad. So I want to know how you're going to do that. And I wasn't sure why you wanted to involve the parents and why this education thing had to be social. I think it's already complex enough to try and teach kids. Adding the social component, I wasn't sure if there was any research that supported there was a need to introduce parents and extended family into that whole learning journey. So I think those are my initial feedback, right? Is first of all, because you're doing something that is tech and has a lot of app type stuff, I want to see something visual. So I would like to see some wireframes or some screenshots of what potentially this application would look like, number one. Number two, I want to know what exactly are you teaching people? Number three, I want to know how are you going to find these people and how are they going to be able to use your services? Because if you're doing a social network for education, do they have internet? Do they have devices that they're going to access? Or if not, how are you going to provide it? And then number four, is there any, because if you're doing education and adding all these other extra things, how are you different to what's already on the market? Because you've got like Khan Academy, you've got YouTube, you've got all these other platforms that are doing very similar things. If you're coming in, what's your unique selling point? And if your unique selling point is the social angle of adding the family, the mother, that's fine. But what is the data that proves that that is effective? Like, do you have any research that backs it up? So that's what I would like to see. And then finally, number 5, what gives you credit? I think you said you started, you're 3 months into the journey, I think is what Bernard told me. That's fine, but what qualifies you to be an educator? Are you a teacher? Have you actually taught children already offline, and have those children giving you feedback on your methods that you're now then using as the basis to then scale using technology? So what actual traction do you have from your students? hopefully does that make sense, or do we need Bernard to try and summarize everything I've said?
It's okay for me.
Okay,
It's okay
great.
for you? Good.
Okay,
I
great.
think I have take all what you're saying.
Well done. Thank you,
Okay.
Michael.
Okay, and we are recording the session, right? So I'll make the recording available to you guys. So if you want to go through it again, because Yemi is giving very, I would say, very useful and very good insights to you guys here in terms of the key things that you need to have on your pitch deck, you know, for it to make sense overall for any given investor. So I encourage everyone to go and take a look again at the replay once it's available, to make sure that you have all of these points in or these slides when you have your slide ready in your various pitches. Okay, thank you very much, Michael, for your hot seat. And now the last hot seat for today, before we go to Yemi's talk, would be Terence. Hello, Terence.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Are you ready for your 1 minute pitch?
Yes, it's 1 minute, but she asked for visuals. They were going to stretch more than a minute. Can I share them?
Okay, yeah, you can, no problem. If you already have a
Right.
pitch deck, is good to show it, because she would be also providing probably some feedback on the deck itself, which is always a good thing. So go ahead.
All right. It's saying I cannot start.
You can present.
All right. It's saying. All right. All right. Yeah. Okay. So can you see it?
It's loading up. Yep, I see it now.
Okay, fantastic. So Connect Me is an app that allows for the globalization of services. First and foremost, before I explain what really Connect Me is, what Connect Me is, I'll explain where it started from. We found out that there was a niche that this one app managed to succeed with in South Africa. And seeing that hairdressing app was successful, though in the initial months flopped, it managed to gain success in the later months. And so we're inspired to take on the entire service industry apart from hairdressing. So the idea is to provide an interactive platform between service providers. It essentially allows for the globalization of services. The market is that COVID-19 exposed the need for the internet of services. Many people lost their jobs from the start of the pandemic, and the majority of these have technical skills and are also breadwinners. The connectivity of exclusive communities, Christians and Jews, is also essential. The solution: Connect Me is providing a platform for anyone with technical skills to market and promote themselves, encouraging and creating self-employment in the process.
Michael, your internet is letting
this. It also takes after Uber for taxi services.
Okay.
The competition is Kandao. All right. The competition is Kandao, a web platform from South Africa that charges high subscriptions for service providers. Another competitor we've got that's mainly from originates from South Africa is Buck. It's a web platform. There's a response point system, which can be expensive, since in many cases responses do not always result in a deal. Our advantage is that there is price penetration, exclusive marketing promotion, and available market. Are you following? Hello.
Hello, Terence. Go ahead. You're breaking quite a lot. We had
so let me explain. Hello? Are you following?
Yes, yes,
Connect
yes.
explained,
yeah,
signing
yeah,
up or
you
logging
go-
into the app will personalize the experience based on the user's location.
Mhm.
I'm sorry for that. My internet connection is a section of the app which
It's okay. Go for it. Go for it. Let's wrap this up quick. Oh, did we lose him totally?
Yeah,
Oh man.
unfortunately, yeah, his connection was really not
Yeah.
that good.
Hopefully he
hello, sorry.
rejoins. Yeah, you know what? I think because you have bad connection, just don't worry about sharing your screen. I've seen your deck and it looks good. Just finish the presentation without sharing your screen. Tell us the rest of it
Right.
quickly. And I can give feedback.
Fantastic. So there are deals you may like. The section of the app shows primarily what is based on the social behavior of the people in a location. For example, people in Durban's usual service preferences or the services they normally search for, look after. And there's the most popular section. The user gets to see the most popular services in line with what other users have searched for, but with higher pricing. This was trying to be tactical around how subscribed clients have a different user interface and user experience from subscribed clients. Categories show the popular services or the popular categories in the user's location. And the best deals for you is a section of the app shows the best services, similar to a user's preferred searches, but at a higher price range. This is mainly for unsubscribed users or clients. So we've come up with what we call filter scoring. The features for filter scoring include reliability scoring. This is a dial that allows the user to determine the quality of the service they need at a cost they can afford to pay. There's also what we call a service cost filter. The graph helps to determine the cost the user can pay at the selected reliability score. There's also service listing, the services that will get listed for the user from the reliability score and the service cost filter. And the home screen for the subscribed client, since this is a feature we offer to only those who have paid a subscription, start to show merchants at the prices the client wants to pay them. So it does the job for them, for them to continue doing that job. However, for the clients then for the service providers offering those services which the clients use a reliability score filter find need to be rated. So it's not simply an app that allows one to process a payment through, but there are sliders which enable a client to process a payment to a specific service provider that would have done a task or job for them. And these sliders cover speed, the speed of that service provider or that merchant, their fairness in negotiation, the quality of service, and how adequate their profile is to what they deliver. These are things that are rated by the client. Only during that rating process and after it can the payment be confirmed. And another subscribed client can then use slider inputs to find the client that is based on the slider inputs or the slider ratings from the previous client. How we monetize from this app is through a subscription model. And I'll explain the subscription model. I'll try and explain it a bit quicker. So I'll not finish the whole presentation since it's a bit long, but I'll try and cover up the monetization based off of subscription.
Yeah, because I think we're well over a minute already, Terence. So you have to wrap up.
So the client monetizes from transaction fees. We're monetizing from transaction fees. The transaction fees for subscribed clients will be lesser compared to unsubscribed ones. There's augmented reality. For the makeup category, subscribed clients can try and make up filters using their phone's camera. There's filter scoring. Subscribed clients get the most reliable service at the cost they can afford to pay. And filter merchant costs. Subscribed clients use top-rated service providers at their usual filtered price range, appearing to them all the time. Then app monetization from the merchant or service providers like this. Their inner profile feed becomes more detailed, includes the clients and the number of clients they've dealt with, their successful projects, the negotiation requests, client prestige to the user, and merchant metrics, or what we give to the service providers or merchants to help them further market their business or be better on the platform. By paying a subscription, they're able to respond to negotiation in that they can chat back to the client for a subscribed service provider, and there's a verification badge. This is what sums up Connect Me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Terence. Thank you for pitching. Can you hear me clearly? Because I'm about to go into feedback and I know. Cool. Terence,
yes,
are you there?
I can.
Amazing.
Yes,
Cool. So
I am.
cool. Beautiful slides. I thought they were very well. The visually was beautiful. Looks great. Terrence, you need to fix your internet. I don't know how. I know Africa. I lived in Nigeria for a bit. We have the world's probably dodgiest internet in the world, so I get it. But this can't. It's not a good look when you're trying to pitch and your internet is letting you down. So please fix that internet.
I understand.
I think it's a good idea, but it just feels like a Me Too product, but just way more complicated. It felt so complex. It felt like you had seen something that worked in South Africa and you felt, oh my God, me too, I want to do it. And you're trying so hard to find an edge. And the way you're trying to find the edge is by adding all this complexity and hoping that one thing sticks. So it just felt really complex to go into. Then you talked about Jews and Christians wanting communities. I'm thinking, why does that impact marketplaces for service providers? So I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of really simplifying the solution. And I think the reason it's as complex as it is because you haven't really found the pain point. You haven't found a specific problem that you're trying to address. You're trying to do too much, right? So the example you gave me was hairdressers in South Africa. C was specific. It was helping hairdressers be found on the internet, that specific point. But it sounds like now you're trying to help all service providers in all markets to be found by, it's like, and then you're doing virtual reality. What's the other one you said? Augmented reality. And I'm like, oh, it's just too much going on here. So my recommendation, I think it's a great, I think that there is for sure a need for it. Essentially, it's like Fiverr for physical services, really is what you're trying to build. What I think you should probably look to consider, and please, I'm inviting to consider it, is instead of trying to build it for every single service, pick one service, pick one market, spend some time talking to the service providers that you identify, and see what specific challenges they have. What is currently stopping them from finding a marketplace? Why has this solution not been built? And then based on the insights you get from your market research and talking to customers, then and only then look to build a solution. I'm just worried that you run the risk of building a solution that is looking for a problem, right? And you will then struggle to sell it because it's got too many things going on and it's complicated. But I think it's a good idea. I think you seem very passionate about it, but I would just do what I suggested. So on that basis, a 2, but I think with some work, I would just said, it could be very quickly become a 4. So hopefully that helps. And you don't think it was too harsh. I hope you guys don't hate me after this.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll try and simplify things. I'll try and work on my internet down, but I'll try and fix it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think if I can kind of support the point Yemi is making is also, I mean, the idea of having this kind of platform for all the service providers to find a match with their customer base is a good idea. But at this time, when you are starting with the little resources that you have, you cannot do it for everyone. This is not realistic. So see, as Yemi is suggesting, from where you can start. Maybe you choose in South Africa, it was hairdressing. Maybe in Zimbabwe, it would be a different vertical. You start with that. If you are successful, then you add a second one, a third one, and you might end up building your vision, but not everything at the beginning of the one go. This is almost impossible to achieve this way. Okay, thank you very much, Terence, for your pitch. Okay.
I would like to pitch to Yemi if possible and get feedback.
Okay, great. Are you okay, Yemi?
Yeah, I'm okay to do it. Yeah, I'm so glad I haven't scared you off.
There is I think one person that hasn't been scared of. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, you guys know it's all from a place of love, right? Because if we're going to build Africa, we have to do it properly. So this is why I feel like we need to be honest and let's make the continent the best it can be. So let's go, Eric.
Yeah. Okay. Greetings to everybody. My name is Eric Ashu. I'm from Cameroon. I'm working on a startup called Marché Central. Well, for people who don't understand what the meaning of Marché Central in French, it's a market where people go and buy
Central
stuff.
market.
So in the Francophone countries, central market, we call it Marché Central, big market. So Marché Central is a social commerce platform that enables African vendors and consumers to adapt to e-commerce, showcase their skills, monetize their accumulated knowledge and other resources. So I'm passionate about marketplaces, and I would love to bring the same experience that people have when they visit a market online. And basically, that's how I came up with this idea. What we're trying to do, we're trying to challenge the status quo. We think differently, and we want to help our users to make their shops more visible and give them an extra channel of income. Basically, patronizing one of Africa's markets, it's a very hectic venture, because when you go to the market, it's hard to locate the shops, so many shops, the streets, the roads are dirty, people are pushing you, people are shouting. So we at the same time, we want to make it easier for consumers to be able to patronize a vendor through their phone. They can sit at home and order a product and have it delivered to them. Our users basically are already selling in markets across Cameroon and Africa. And these people, they're paying a lot of money to have a shop, a brick and mortar shop. Some of those shops at the market are very, very expensive. So when our platform is launched, we're going to give them, make their shops more visible, have them to interact with their customers, so that their sales cannot just end as a one-time sale and purchase. They could have recurring business with that user. I think that's it, just to meet up 1 minute.
Amazing. No, well done, Eric. Well done. Good pitch. Thank you for pitching. As I said to the other guys, it would be nice to see some visuals, but it does make sense. Like, I get what you're trying to build. There's a few people, I think, in the Lagos chapter trying to do something similar. Essentially, you're trying to build like a global. Do you guys have global, like a delivery service, like an online marketplace that you can order goods on and you have it delivered to you? I believe that's what you're trying to do. I wasn't sure actually if it was that or if it was going to be a virtual marketplace, like to Terrence's point, like a virtual reality, and you can go on this app, open it up, and you can walk through the market, but from your house. I wasn't sure, what the thing was. But if it's the first, so people have tried, so the way people have tried to address this problem you just talked about tends to be the global model, right? Is having different shops have a virtual online shop in a bigger, wider marketplace. So like, I don't know if you guys have global or in Dubai, Kareem, or even Uber to some degree. They have all the various shop owners create little kiosks on their platform, and then you can go on there and order. So it's already being done. The problem with scaling in Africa is the logistics problem. So I like the problem you're trying to solve. You may want to dig deeper and see because the two-sided problem you're solving, right, is you have to understand it from both their perspectives. So from the perspective of the trader, you talked about how like it's very expensive to rent to a physical space in the market, and that eats into their profit. That's fine. But from the perspective of the person that's coming to buy the goods from the market, I don't know if they're going to be ready, if the marketplace is ready to shop online, because the guys that go to the market tend to be lower income families, right, that are looking for a bargain. I want to haggle the best prices. Having a fixed price, people's mindset is like, if the price is fixed and is expensive, if they haven't found like a 1% discount that they can haggle. So I think there's that. I don't know if your target market is going to have a smartphone to order stuff from. I don't know how you're going to handle the logistics. So these are the things that I would have liked to come up from your pitch, right? Is clearly defining what the problem is. I think you kind of tried to do that. I wasn't clear what the solution was. I think you can spend some time really clarifying that solution, and ideally compare it to something in a developed. It depends on who you're pitching to. If you're pitching to somebody that's not in your marketplace, it would be nice to say, we're building the global for the Cameroonian market. We're building the Uber for it. Those lines, they sound very cliche, but they work, right? They work because it just stops people from having to think too hard. Like, now I know what you're trying to build, and I can compare it to something that I already know. So before you're trying to build already kind of exists, then tell me what it is and tell me that you're building it for a specific market, so solution. Tell me what traction you've made as well. It's like, what qualifies you to be solving this problem? Have you worked in the market before? Do you come from a line of traders? Why you? What do you know about this place? And also, what are you asking for? How much do you need? So those are the kind of things I want to get out from you. But I think more importantly, because of what you're doing, you have to be very clearly telling me how you're going to find traders, how you're going to find buyers, right? And then also, I had a point, but I forgot the point. Yeah, but I think that's good enough for now. But hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I will take
You're
it into
welcome.
consideration.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you for pitching, Eric also, and Yemi for your feedback. And I would suggest, not sure if you have done that already, Yemi, if you can be able to avail a few office hours, because I have a sense that a lot of the founders now want to have your feedback on what they're trying to do. So if you can be able to avail a few office hours so that they can be able to book maybe 15 minutes or with you and then just have a discussion, I think it would be useful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move ahead on the agenda with Yemi's talk. So Yemi, the floor is yours. Just
Cool stuff. Let's do it. So, hi guys, let me just get myself set up and then we can kick off. So please, let's keep this thing as interactive as possible. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. Stop me, ask questions, challenge, no problem. I'm also going to be showing you a 40-second video at some point in this presentation. So get your popcorns ready, set the light and the ambiance, and, you know, get ready to be engaged. Cool. So this is me, as we know. So I'm not going to go over it again. I just want to encourage you guys to look out for me on the feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you guys and stay in touch. If you want to, I'm going to try and find your link to my LinkedIn. Where the heck is this thing? Yeah, there you go. So do feel free to reach out and connect. Today's agenda is me walking you through why it's important to have a vision and a mission statement, why it's important to do it now, what a good mission and vision statement looks like. And I'm going to give you an example as well. And I suppose what not to do when you're creating it. And I believe at the heart of all this stuff really is you knowing yourself. Your ability to set up a good vision and mission statement almost starts with you as the founder, because the company to a large extent is going to look like you, especially at the very beginning, because you're going to be building it around who you are and your personality. So I'll be sharing some ideas on how you can reflect on your own strengths and your own values as a leader. So without further ado, let's kick off. First point is, why is this even important in the first place that we talked about, right? Because it can be seen, when you talk about vision and mission, it can be seen as so intangible. It's like, come on, people, we're trying to conquer the world and change the continent. Who has time to write a vision and mission statement? But it's important for the 7 reasons I've listed here, at least, right? The first is it's a unifier. It's a way to galvanize people or to attract, galvanize can be anything. It's a way to attract people that have that share your vision, that share your ideologies of the world together. And when the going gets tough, it's the way to kind of motivate people and say, hey, listen, remember why we're doing what we're doing. This is our why. This is why we started doing this in the first place, right? It's a way to rally the troops when needed. It's a good thing to have when it comes to hiring as well, because when you start to hire people looking for a co-founder, looking for whatever you're looking for, right? You get all this, especially as you start to build and you start to grow, you probably start to have a little people reach out saying, hey, Sally, I really like the startup you're building. It sounds fascinating. Would you like to have an advisor come and join your startup? Here is what I can offer you, right? But how do you, when you have all these people coming and trying to want to help you, trying to join your growing startup, how do you decide which one is going to be the best fit for you? Are you just going to go by, or they work for all the big fancy companies, they got all the fancy degrees? Or are you going to stop and think, wait, hold on, how do I make sure this person is a cultural fit to me and what I'm building, and go with that person? It's hard to go, the latter is the preferred way to go about it, right, is finding someone that's a cultural fit to you, someone that that you feel that you can work with, that understands what you're trying to build and can work with you towards building that. But it's hard to even find that if you haven't defined it. Yeah, so hiring becomes difficult without values. Same thing for fundraising. How do you know which investor you want to say yes to or you want to say no to, right? Is it the guy that gives you the highest valuation? Yeah, the guy that gives me the highest valuation, I'm going to go for. But what if this guy doesn't see the world the way you see the world, right? And then you have this internal conflict and you start to tear apart your company from within because you guys are not aligned. So again, to prevent all of that, having the values means that you start to align and you start to decide who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. It informs your culture, it drives your strategy, gives you direction. If you get so fucking the road and you have to decide which one to go for, this or this, you can run it through your values again. It's like, based on our values, which of these align? It helps you with decision making, similar to point 5. And finally, it's a differentiator. It helps you stand out in the noisy marketplace, right? If you define your values well, it's almost like Marmite. It helps you, it cuts out people that are, it attracts people that are for you. And the guys that are not for you are just repelled, and you almost want them to be repelled, right? So it helps you to differentiate. So when you skip this, two very bad things could happen if you skip doing this, right? First is you potentially run the risk of attracting people that are just not aligned with your culture, which we talked about in a lot of detail. And secondly, you run the risk of chasing vanity metrics, right? Of chasing things like, oh, the biggest followers, the biggest likes, the biggest whatever valuation, the biggest profits. And you're chasing all this without any underlying sense of values or mission or conscience, right? You're just extroverted chasing. So I want to show you an example of a founder that tried to fundraise without having clear values and how it almost went wrong for him. So this is the 40-second video I talked about. So I want us to just quickly look at it and then we can discuss it quickly afterwards. So
my number one.
Can you hear sound? I'm just going to test the sound first. Can you guys hear?
My number one biggest.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to play it now.
My number one biggest mistake as CEO, for sure, was choosing the wrong investor. And frankly, the business almost went under because of it. So in our Series C fundraise, which was $30 million, we went with an investment partner that had given us one of the highest valuations that we saw, and we jumped at it. Unfortunately, the next 3 years were pretty much hell. He tried to push myself, the founding team, and management out of the company, and he pretty much paralyzed the company. It was like we had a sickness, didn't know how to get rid of it. The culture tanked, performance started dropping even more, and eventually I was able to rally the existing investors to put in more money to buy this partner out, and we finally were able to get him out of the company. And not surprisingly, the company rebounded almost immediately, and over time became a $1 billion company.
Amazing. So can I just ask, guys, so quick one-liner words in the chat. What was the key lessons from this video? What are your thoughts on this video and what Scott is showing? Scott, by the way, is the CEO of a fundraising platform for charities. And that was his experience of raising funds from an investor that did not align with their vision or their mission. I suppose what question is, what resonates? What are your thoughts from seeing that video, guys, in the chat? Can I just get
Well, I thought the main thing about this I'm catching from this video is that you need to make learn to make the right choices from the possible choices that are available to you. So it's most important to choose somebody who shares your culture, the culture of the company, who shares your vision, and not the money. Don't go for the money, but who has the same vision as you, as everybody who is in their company. So
absolutely, Eric. Absolutely, Eric. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Especially at the early stage, right? Because you want someone that's going to buy into your vision, not just give you money and tell you and sit on the sidelines and tell you how to run your business, but ideally come and walk with you side by side, give you contacts, give you ideas, and share their experiences with you if that's what you want. So the clearer you are on your vision, the better you're able to discern on who is right for me and who is not right for me. So hopefully that helps. So let's keep going, right? So the second question is, why do it now? I've got all these important things to be doing with myself, right? Who's got time to be setting vision, mission, whatever stuff going on right now? And the reason is vision, mission, and all this stuff is modeled from the top down, right? So your ability to set it and also live by it and breathe it is important for you to start embodying those values right now, because as you get bigger and your attention is scattered across different things, it's the habits that you've picked up now that you're going to carry on as you grow the company, right? So you defining that now means that you can set everything up properly, or as properly as you can, and start to live by those values, so that as people join you, you're not then trying to become something that you're not already, right? And then it becomes very two-faced and misaligned. So and now is also probably the smallest number of stakeholders you're ever going to have, right? I expect your companies to keep growing, not shrinking, right? So it's easier to change things when they're small. As they get bigger, when you try and change the culture, it becomes a lot more complicated to change it. And I think more importantly, as Scott just said, the last thing you want to do is to end up building a company that you don't recognize, or a company that you hate. And you're like, what is this monster that I've just built? Like, because if you have a job that you don't like, guess what you can do? You can quit. You'd be like, I'm not turning up. Just don't show up the next day. Nobody cares, right? Within reason. But when you build a company and you're like, I hate this company, you can't just quit, right? Usually you have employees, you have other people you're accountable to, right? So it's important you set it up correctly, because it's not the kind of thing you can just quit, usually quite quickly. So that's why it's important to do it now. So let's get started on, I suppose, how to do it. So a good mission statement, as per Harvard, has 4 key things, right? It's memorable, it's manageable, it's measurable, and also motivational. And I've tried to give examples of some mission statements as well that are quite good, right? So with Charity Water, they want to bring clean, safe drinking water to people in developing countries, right? So that is the filter for what they're doing. So if somebody in a developed country says, hey, we have a water problem, come help us. They're like, yeah, great. I know you have a water problem, but it's not what we're called to do. We're called to work with developing countries, right? So the mission statement, to a large extent, is repelling, right? It repels anybody that doesn't fit within the mission. It helps them to focus on what they're called to do and what their strengths and their capabilities are, right? Same thing as well with Kiva. So Kiva is a fintech for in developing countries. It gives business loans. So their mission is to connect people through lending to alleviate poverty. So again, you can see their focus is, we're going to connect people by lending to them. We're not going to connect them by doing social media. We're not going to connect them by doing whatever it is you can do. There's other ways to connect people, but they defined how they want to do what they're doing, right? And with the aim of alleviating poverty, not with the aim of entertaining people, not with the aim of whatever else you could do with connecting people, right? So that is, I suppose, examples of mission statements. And I suppose what I was going to say here is the ultimate test of a good mission statement is how your customers experience you. Because to my point earlier, mission vision can seem like an academic statement, but it doesn't need to be. Initially, you define it, but the way you make sure it doesn't become academic is to keep reinforcing that in every kind of meeting that you have. So when you have your team meetings, you want to recognize people that have done things that are in alignment with your mission, in alignment with your values, and also try and discourage things that are not in alignment, right? That's how you keep reinforcing that in the culture that you build from day 0. Sometimes you think you've built a mission as something else, but if the customer is experiencing something completely different to your mission, then there is a misalignment, right? And you want to identify those quickly, right? You want to see why there's a misalignment. Is it because it actually makes sense to be misaligned? Maybe the customers perceive you differently and you're happy with that perception of the market, or maybe there's something you're doing in the market that you want to change, right? So again, it's a living, breathing thing is what I'm trying to reinforce here. Cool. So by the way, like I said, keep putting the questions, look beyond money. How can we get this PowerPoint? Terrence, I'm going to send you a link to the PowerPoint afterwards. And I think you also have the recording, right? So don't worry, you can also listen to the recording as well. Cool. So I wanted to give an example of what a mission vision statement could look like. I'm giving an example using a B2B, so a business to business fintech startup. And with this example, what I really wanted to showcase as well, because I know I'm talking to mostly A-type personalities, driven, want to get stuff done. I get it. I really get it. And the pushback I get is, I don't have time for vision, mission. It doesn't help me in any way. I'm like, and I want to say, actually, you do. And it does help you not just for setting culture, but also for actually delivering results to the customers that will then give you the money, the revenue, and the valuation that you want. So this example here is showing you how you can go from vision, from your mission. So the mission is your why, the reason for being, your purpose, why you're setting up, to how you see the world being once you've achieved that mission, to then defining your core values. So your core values are how you're going to behave to hit your mission. Like, so it's what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what do you uphold in that journey? And then using that as the basis to set your strategy, right? Or essentially your value statement or your value proposition, right? So in this example, this person's value proposition is they want to become a one-stop shop, financial services hub for micro small businesses in rural communities, using mobile and USSD technologies so they can make transactions from any place without any kind of high fees. So that's the value that they're offering to the market, right? So because the initial mission that they had, right, was they want to provide affordable financial services to small businesses. And the vision that's driving this mission is they believe that small businesses and entrepreneurship is at the heart of social mobility and financial equality, right? So by giving small business owners access to finances, they can grow, and by so doing, improve the economy and society at large. And the way they're going to be looking to address this is by providing this financial hub. So that's their contribution, if you like, to this problem that they've identified in the world, right? Is their strategy. So with the strategy defined, strategy usually is like a 5-year game, right? It's like a long-term, this is our strategy, right? Is how do you take that strategy and then break it down into like 3-month goals or 1-year goals, right? That's your objective. So you take this big strategy and you break it down into like actual tasks. So to hit this goal of building this hub, what are the things that we need to do? In the example of this person, they're going to first start by launching a buy now, pay later feature, because they've, again, looked at their marketplace, looked at their visions, their values, and they've decided that buy now, pay later is the priority right now. They've prioritized it. And then they define the key results. How are they going to know that they're successful with this feature that they've launched? And again, they've defined it there. So here is just showing you an example of how mission and vision not only has helped you set what your culture is going to be like, who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with, but it's also then driving how you then create your value proposition, and then how you also define what your key objectives are, and also how you measure yourself regularly to see if you're being successful, right? And you're hitting the objectives, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If not, again, like I said, I'm keeping my eyes on the chat. Feel free to unmute, ask me questions. It's a small group, thank God, so we could keep this interactive. So ask questions as we go. Then we're moving on. So that's that. I suppose what not to do when you're setting the mission statement, right, is to fill it with cliche, template, buzzwords that mean nothing to nobody and nobody actually cares, right? Don't do it for academic reasons. If you don't see the value in doing it after all I've explained, then maybe it's not for you. Don't do it. I think you're better off saying, I don't care about this stuff and I don't want to do it, than just paying it lip service. Because so many companies have value statements or mission statements that they don't actually do anything useful with, and it's just a waste of everybody's time. Time is too short, life is too short, don't waste your time. If you're not going to use it, don't do it, right? So that's the summary of all this stuff, right? But the question that becomes, I suppose, is, and also the final thing is, it's more important that you're clear, that the mission statement is clear. Anybody that reads it feels like, oh my God, yes, I get what they're trying to do. I may not agree with them, but I get it. Clear is important than clever. No need to put any buzzwords or any kind of fancy, relentless quality, whatever buzzy word that comes up next, right? So the question is, how do you do it right now? So that's what I want to move on to, like, how do I, so I'm hoping that at this point, I've managed to convince you guys that it's a good idea to think about defining your mission and your vision, right? So if you're with me and you believe that's the case, the question is then, how do I get started? And the recommended starting point is, guess what, is the man in the mirror, right? It's starting with you and your founding team around you. So I'm going to try to write this quickly. So when I work with, so over the last kind of year or so, I've worked with over 100 founders now, and also reflecting on my own personal experiences. There are three key traits that any growing business, the very least, needs, right? And the three traits of a leader is clarity of purpose, right? They have clarity of purpose, so they're the visionary, they have the founder, right? The idea guy. You have trait number 3, which is around the commercial awareness. They're the strategist, the CEO. They really know how to take the idea and create a strategy. And then the final one is around technical competence. So they could take the strategy and then actually execute on that strategy. These are the 3 key skills that any successful founding team would require in their journey, right? And when these things are missing, this is when things to kind of fall apart, right? And this is why, by the way, this is why being an entrepreneur can seem quite difficult, right? Because you're essentially wearing at least 3 hats at any one given time if you're a solo founder, right? Because you're the one that's coming up with the vision, you're the one that's coming up with the strategy, you're the one that's also doing the doing, right? So it's 3 different things. And just when you think you've got it and you're doing really well, the market changes and you have to adapt. So I think for you to set your values, it starts by you, first of all, understanding across these 3 key skills that you have, which of them come naturally to you or not so naturally. So essentially review your own strengths and define your own SWOT analysis, right? Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your strengths, your threats rather. And do the same as well for your founding team members as well. How do you guys, in what conditions do you guys work best? What brings out the best in you guys? What kind of future would you like to create? Or what do you, and by the way, as well, part of this as well is also doing some inspirational analysis, right? Is finding people that you think, that you admire, that you think, oh my God, these guys are doing well. They're 5 years or 3 years ahead of where I am right now. And I would like to be like that. I admire the journey they've been on. So it's finding those people and seeing what kind of values that they display or things that you admire about them and making a list of potential things that you're already seeing in those people, right? So this is a starting point. And if you're really struggling, like this is with all of this stuff, I'm thinking, oh my God, I get it, but I don't know how to get started, then I've got you. There's this model here called Ikigai. Ikigai is Japanese for reason for being. It's a model that helps you discover your strengths and discover who you are and your purpose, right? And essentially, it's the Ikigai is an intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. The idea is that once you find all 4 and you find the intersection between all 4, then that's your Ikigai. And when you find your Ikigai, it's a state of flow. It's a state of not so much ease, but ease in terms of like you're not going against the waves, but you're going with something that feels good to who you are internally. So I really like this model for founders that I feel like are struggling, like in terms of like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing or my purpose and I find it to be a good way to ground. But the question again becomes, oh, but what if I don't even know what I love? I don't even know what I'm good at. I don't even know what I'm paid for, and on and on and on. Don't worry, I've got you. So again, with those guys, what I try to encourage them to do is to find, in terms of finding what you love or the kind of environment you like to work in, there's this model called Career Anchors. It's free on the internet, just Google it. I think it's actually really useful. It groups people into 8 types of working styles, really. And I think it's important to know which one aligns best with you, because there's some people in our midst that like to work autonomously, right? They like to be independent and lone rangers rather. Some people want more lifestyle businesses, and that's how they work best. Some people want technical type businesses, and that's what feels good to them and they value. It's important to know what that is for you. Because if, for example, it's important to you to have a lifestyle type business, then maybe going down the fundraising path might not be the right path for you, right? Because if your idea is I want to work hard for like 6 months of the year and then go off on 3 months holiday, that may not sit well with your investor. Or maybe the action is for you to find an investor who would align with that, or find a team that would align with that, or set up your business in a way that aligns with who you are. But it's important to know that upfront so that you can start to build it in a way that is consistent with who you are. Because otherwise you start, and because it's not in alignment with you, you can't be consistent. And you do it intensively for 1 month. After 1 month, you get tired. You don't do it for like the next 2 months. And it's very choppy, your growth. So do that. The second thing is what the world needs. I think these days there's a whole drive towards SDG goals and finding things that are sustainable. So I want to encourage everybody to think about looking at this UN SDG goals and seeing which of these 17 goals align with my own personal values, align with the change I'm trying to make in the world, align with the business I'm trying to create, and find out more about it and find out, like, I suppose, the solutions that are already in the market, the competitors you have, and see what fresh new angle you can bring to it, right? It helps because it gives you a sense of you're chasing something that is bigger than just you, yourself, and your values. But also there's a lot of grants and a lot of like big organizations that are backing each of these goals individually, right? So in terms of tapping into existing ecosystems, it becomes easier to do that if you're aligned to one or more of these goals. What you're good at. I think, again, it's important to know, I suppose, what your own strengths are. You could do this very quickly by doing your own SWOT analysis, right? So trying to make a list of all your strengths, all your weaknesses, all your opportunities, all your threats. In fairness, if you already know that, then there's no need to do any of all the stuff I'm suggesting because you already know you can do it. I'm only suggesting these tools and these frameworks if you need help with getting that thought process going. What I'm showing on here is something called the Myers-Briggs, and it essentially categorizes people into 16 personality types, and it shows you like what their strengths are likely to be, what their weaknesses are likely to be. It does it across 4 parameters. Like it shows you if you're likely to be introverted or extroverted, if you're likely going to be more of a thinker or a feeler, how you make decisions. It's by you knowing that, you know what your natural abilities are and what comes naturally to you, right? And your sweet spot. And then you also probably identify what is not so good or what you're not so strong at as well. And you can make a list of it, right? So when it comes to hiring or it comes to like outsourcing stuff, you know what you need to prioritize outsourcing for. Same thing, this is the flip side of what we just talked about, right? Is being able to identify your weaknesses as well, right? So again, I like this tool. This tool, by the way, if you were to do them, you can get them done in under an hour. I got some lady in Lagos to do it, and she's like, she wrote me back on LinkedIn to say, thank you so much. I feel like I now feel so understood. I feel like I know myself better. They're just a good way to help you. If you're already very self-aware, then you wouldn't need any of these tools because you already know your strengths. And all you will need to do is just write it down and make it clear so that as you start to hire and as you start to get investors, you're aware of it, you can communicate to people and people know how you work and your style. But if you're not aware of it, then please, I invite you to consider doing these exercises, right? So with this one, it shows you what your potential weaknesses are. So it's like when you're under stress, how do you tend to behave? Do you become very controlling and micromanage everybody because you're stressed? Or do you become hyperachiever? Or what's your style, right? So again, by you knowing that, you can start to proactively put in measures to bring you back down to earth when you get into this mode, and also tell your team that, hey, when I start behaving like this is how you can help me course correct. Yeah, I think this is more ideas on how to measure culture, because I was trying to show that culture is not so, because people think about culture as something that is very abstract, like nobody cares, vision, mission, like what's all this stuff. But the point is, if you do this right, when done right, you should find that over time, your revenue per employee should start to increase. So as you add more people to your organization, because they're culturally aligned, they buy into your vision, they buy into the goal and the change you're trying to make in the world, they're willing to contribute and go far and beyond than what their job title says. So you find that the revenue per employee should increase if it's been done right. You should have better diversity and inclusion. So the idea is that as you start to grow your business, you don't want to just have people that look like you in the company, right? You want to have white people, Asian people, people that are of different ethnicities and genders, because then they add different viewpoints and experiences to your business. So I think those were the key things I wanted to share for this. As I said before, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will try my best to open up office hours soon, and then we can discuss if you have any more questions. But that was it, guys. Let me know if there are any questions. I'm going to stop sharing so we could discuss questions.
I've got questions. I've got a question I mean to say. I'm sorry.
Let's do it. Go for it.
Cool. So I found that in the past years, I've not been getting investment for the different projects and proposals that I did. I sort of started to understand the kind of environment that I was in. It's kind of difficult due to, it's kind of to pick the right persona from an investor standpoint to fit into the business. What I mean to say is that you tend to be desperate, especially with how, I'm talking from an economic background, especially with Zemco, that it's difficult to really be selective with investors in an economic environment that's tough to get investment from. So how do you curb those emotions such that you get the right investor that can align with your vision and mission?
Great question, and thank you for asking the question. I think the first thing is, please don't be desperate. You don't want to be desperate under any circumstances, right? And I think this is so. The FI actually encourages founders not to start looking for investment until after the program is completed. The reason for that is it's still very early right now. As you go through the next 14 or 10 weeks, you will learn more about your business. You will learn more about your market. You will learn more about like how to get your first initial early customers, how to get some traction or some proof that shows that your idea is viable in the market. And the more proof you have, the more traction you have, the more quality investors you can attract. But if you're at the bottom and all you have is an idea and you have a concept and you think it's valuable, first of all, it's going to be hard to find any investor that's going to be interested in this current market space in just an idea, unless, of course, you already have like previous founder experience. I mean, if Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk was like, I'm going to start XYZ startup, it doesn't even say what the idea of a startup is. Like, I need funding. Everybody will go and just, how much do you want, Elon? Like, nobody even knows what he's trying to start up on, right? But he can do that because he's got track record, he's got credibility, he's Elon Musk, right? So if you already have that kind of credibility, then just by you saying, I want to raise funding, you probably, the floodgates will open. But if you don't, the best way to raise funds is to prove some traction, is to prove that you have something of substance and you've tested the market. And then and only then start to have conversations with people. But honestly, the advice is please right now, don't start talking to, because there's so many sharks out there that investors that see that you don't really understand how the market works. And you find a lot of founders giving away, say, 40% of their company at pre-seed stage. If you give away 40% of your company at pre-seed stage, you're dead because there's nothing else to invest in. You've got no room to raise any future funds. Does that make sense, Terence? So essentially my answer is this is, please don't be desperate. Please just trust the process. Like this has been going on for the last 12, 14 years. I think FI has been around for a long, long time. FI has a sister company called VC Lab. VC Lab has like a whole community of VC firms, and they're constantly churning out new VC firms. Like I think they run out 3 cohorts a year of VC firms, and about 20 VCs graduate the program. So at least just from the VC Lab community, you have 60 new VC funds that are created every year, right? So money is actually not as scarce as it might seem. It's finding the right quality investor for you, and you can find that right quality investor by proving that you have traction and you've achieved something of substance. So please just bear with it. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, thank you. I'll meditate on that.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying, Yemi, and I think this is a discussion I had with a couple of the founders on the cohort, being clear on your mission and your vision would be very helpful in terms of you determining which type of investor can be a good fit for you. If you are not clear on your vision, on your mission, on your value, it will be very difficult for you to know who could be someone I'm willing to collaborate with in terms of things, supporting me, bringing money, but also other things, the network and everything aside from money that investor can bring to you. And this, apart from the fact that also not every investor would invest in any type of business or industry. So you need to look for people that you know from data, from real hard fact that they could be interested in what you are trying to do, and also make sure, as Yemi was explaining, that in terms of mission, in terms of vision, in terms of value, there could be a fit as well. So it's a serious work that you should be thinking of, and you should be progressing from those perspectives as well, until the moment we are really ready to start engaging investors and asking for money. Any other question for Yemi?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Yemi. When during our last session, the deliverables, so they asked us to look at you guys, to check you out on LinkedIn and look and write a couple of words about your personality. So I'm prepared a question for you. Basically, entrepreneurship is a lonely venture, and most of the times, even your relatives and your friends don't believe in your vision, don't believe in your idea or what you're trying to do, especially here in Africa. So I'm talking about myself personally, my brothers and my sisters. They don't know what I'm doing. They don't know this type of business. They don't believe in it. You know, in Africa, most people are used to open a shop, sell something physical, and make money. So my question is, when times are tough and things are not going well, how do you recharge? I'm asking you personally, how do you recharge your energy back and regain focus to continue pushing and to continue pushing your idea and to make it happen? So that's my question. How do you recharge your energy, refocus when things are not going well? When everything around you is looking as if
Yeah.
it's
No,
not going
real
to
talk.
work.
Real talk. No, great question. Great question. Thank you for asking, Eric. Thank you. I think honestly, I rest. I sleep because it gets to the point where I'm just tired. I'm like, listen, I can't think straight. So I think it's important to take regular breaks and just stop for a minute, because it's tempted to just kind of try harder. So it's learning when you feel like, okay, I'm not in a good headspace and I'm stressed, things are not going the right way for me. So stop is my first approach. I don't know if you have a faith or you believe in God or higher power. I
do.
pray and I surrender. I'm like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to sleep. Do you handle the rest? And so do that. Then what we talked about as well is, this is why mothers have this mission and vision, right? Is having a vision that's bigger than I want to be the next unicorn or I want to make XYZ million. If the vision is, I really want to help kids in rural communities get into schools. I know the pain of being from a rural community myself and struggling to get through in my career, in my life, because I don't have the same access that other people have, because I don't have basic education. If you have such a compelling vision, you just remembering or taking yourself to those communities and seeing the kids again, it reminds you why you're doing what you're doing, because all you have to do is just go back to this and just sit down and just watch them play and see, like, oh my God, like, look at this kids, like, why is all of this happening? And reminding yourself of the why and immersing yourself in that circumstance might help. So that's for me 3. So for me, it's my own personal why is I really believe that poverty is at the heart of many societal ills. So, I showed you the 17 different things. I really think, honestly, the at the bottom of at the heart of everything is the no poverty. If we can improve social mobility and financial inclusion across the board, most of them will just get solved, like education or food. It'll just fade away. And I think the best way to solve social mobility for me is by helping small businesses, right? Because if you improve small businesses, you improve the economy. So a lot of what I do, like all the stuff I'm doing here, is because I really believe that if I can help one small business become profitable, that small business is not just them, it's their family, it's their community, and it has a whole ripple effect across the globe. It's my why. And I really believe that. And that's what drives me forward, right? I don't know what yours is, but being able to know that really defines it or helps, right? The fourth one for me is finding inspiration, right? So it's looking at people that are 3 years, 5 years ahead of you and seeing, wait, hold on, am I actually going about this thing as efficiently as I can be going? Because I believe that best practice already exists out there. Like there's nothing new under the sun, right? Everything we're trying to do, we may have a different twist on it, but really, it's nothing really new under the sun, really, truly, right? So it is going out there and finding, I don't think it's worth looking at someone like Elon Musk or looking at Bill Gates. I feel like those guys are too far away from my reality for me to relate to. Like I'm happy for them, but we don't have the same reality. I'd much rather find someone that's like 5 years or 3 years ahead of where I am and seeing like how they've plotted their journey and see what I can emulate from them. It's like, so what conferences are they going for? What associations are they part of? What awards have they won? Like when I look at their profile and look at mine, what do I see as the potential gaps that a customer might be seeing? Like, that is making this thing harder than it needs to be for me. Because for most of us here, what we may find is you're doing all this work, and I kept saying this in my feedback to most of you, right, is you're doing all this work, but you're not very good at capturing traction or capturing proof, capturing reviews. Like, you're the only one saying you're good. It's like, great. I have not met someone that says I'm a bad person before, right? Everybody says they're good. Who else is saying that you're good as well? Capture it. Get yourself on LinkedIn. Get yourself those people to write you reviews so that other people are singing your praises. Get awards. But all those things you wouldn't know until you see what your competition in quotes, your people ahead of you are doing, and you can see what you can replicate in your business. Well, that's what I try to do. So I think those are the 4 key things I do, right? Is make time to stop and take a break. Pray, because ultimately it's not me that give myself the vision. Like I do not put these ideas in my head. If you put it in my head, then you need to stuff it out. So learn to surrender. And so give me the ideas to take. Remember your why, find people that inspire you. And then finally is what you're already doing right now, right? Is get yourself in a community of people that are building, that are in the same space as you are. I was very surprised to find this out, but in another chapter that I was working with, I realized that they don't all know each other. And I found that to be very, I'm like, why don't you guys know each other? And the answer I got back from one of them is, we're not part of the same working group. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't care if you're not part of the same working group. You guys are all here together. You're all at this stage here together. Make friends, network. You're all going through the same things. It was slightly different, but stick together. It's easier to build this relationship now than when you wait for each other to be very successful in the future. At that point, it's harder to build because it's harder to build trust. It's like, oh yeah, you coming to me because of who I am or because of what you think I can give to you. So build this relationship now with these people and have community. Don't know, Eric, if those 5 points help you, but that's what I look to do.
Definitely, I've taken some points. Thank you.
Amazing, cool. I can.
I've got a question. Sorry, I've got one other question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I'll go first, and then Terence, you ask your second question.
Okay. I was just trying to add to what Yemi is talking about concerning keeping going on your adventure, on your business, and how not to lose steam. Some of the practices, adding to what Yemi has already said, is about just being motivated about what you want to achieve. Before embarking on this particular kind of journey, there is a particular passion born from a particular burden that you have encountered in your own society, in your own environment, and that you really want to get it fixed. It's just like if that problem is not solved, you too will not find peace. So these are the kind of things that can also help you to keep going, so that you know that at the end result will be something that will give you peace in the end. So if you're pursuing a goal and you are really passionate about it, it's also part of the Ikigai that she showed us here a few moments ago. And that kind of passion can really keep you going even when you feel like giving up. At the beginning of this program also, there are parts of the journey that may say or may bring frustration in one way or another to you achieving the different goals that you want to achieve for your business. But one thing is clear is that if you are very passionate about it enough, you go against it even when all the odds are against you. So you go for it and get it done. And that's that have been keeping me going since the beginning of my adventure in January, because I'm an engineer myself, but you know, being an entrepreneur requires that you become more of an engineer, and I've had to struggle, you know, with having to get into some administrative stuff that are, even up till now, I really don't like them, but you know, I have to get it done because it's an important part of the business that has to get going. But at the same time, I still, you know, take care of the core engineering business and make sure that things are the way I am saying that they are, so that, you know, in terms of due diligence and everything, I should not be found wanting or to have created a hype or something that's entirely false. So I make sure I'm keeping a close eye on the engineering side, as well as following up, you know, with trainings like these, with going through programs like this, getting to conferences and meeting people and doing the networking that is required for me to get to where, you know, I want to get to. And each time that something like this frustrates me, I look up to the mission or the vision that I have for what I want to achieve, and then I get inspired by that. That passion is probably reignited, and I know that okay, this is not where I have to stop now. So I push myself a little bit forward, and you know, talk to a couple of people, try to lose some steam, you know, and engage into other activities that are out, you know, of the sphere of activity. So that's a little bit something I wanted to add to what Yemi already elaborated on. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing, Aka.
Thank you, Aka.
Terence, your question.
Okay. I normally have a problem with social pressure. I've come to a point where you have an idea, but you are put under pressure by other businesses that are running and that did not necessarily go through the Founder Institute. So I don't know how to tackle this, but it's an emotional pressure and more of a peer pressure, where you find that your peers have not had similar ideas like yours, but their native and local businesses are at least helping them to earn something and earn a living. While you are pursuing an FI program, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying, how do you tackle the pressure that your focus towards what you want to do or build, and not necessarily try and think around or be distracted by what your peers have achieved much faster than you have, though it's not in line with what you're doing?
My God, I love the vulnerability of these questions, by the way. These are all like real questions people are asking. So thank you for asking them. Great question. I think here's the thing, right? I completely relate, especially in this our day and age of Instagram and social media, right? You get to see the highlight reel of people's lives. And it feels like every other person has this unicorn company. Every other person has Sequoia investing in their company. Every other person is taking pictures and having dinner with Elon Musk, and on and on and on and on. And it's like, what the heck am I doing with my life? How am I not making progress? But this is why I think what we just covered is important, right? Is when you have clarity of vision, mission, and you know the strategy you decided to follow, you also defined what your objectives are and what your key results are as well, and the timelines of those. When those moments come up, for me, it's important to then go back and be like, okay, what was my plan? This is the plan I made for myself. How am I tracking to my own plan? Do you see what I mean? Right? Because like you're not on their path. You don't know what their plan is. You don't know how they got to what they got to. You don't know if they had to cut corners to get to this big investment. You don't know what they did. You can only speak for yourself. So when you compare your chapter, your journey to somebody else's chapter, it's a very bad comparison, because you're not even comparing apples to apples. It's a rubbish comparison. You're not comparing the same thing. You don't know what the variables are in their lives. Everybody has their own set of problems. You'll probably find that if you get to speak to them one-on-one, because the example I shared with you, the Scott example, anybody that saw him initially raising a $30 million Series C would have thought, oh my God, you raised $30 million Series C. That is amazing. You made it for life, right? But you probably would not have seen the 3 years of his life that he spent having to deal with this horrible investor. I mean, thankfully for him, he had a happy ending, right? He was able to get rid of this investor and move on with his life. But not many people get to have the happy ending. For some people, it ends up in sickness, it ends up in suicide, it ends up in losing their family, getting divorced, and on and on and on and on and on. So all this to say, we never really know the full picture of people's lives, right? So the way to stop comparison is by you being clear on what you want to build for yourself, being clear on how you're going to go about it, and having the practice of like measuring your progress. Is like, so I said I was going to make or send out 5 DMs to people today. Did I send out my 5 DMs? Yes, I did. Tick, achievement, and celebrate those little small wins, number one. Number two, it's about you knowing yourself and making sure you define strategies that you can do consistently and sustainably. That's why I went through that whole process of you being self-aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses, because your go-to-market strategy to a large extent is going to be based on who you are and who your strengths are. Because your friend did his go-to-market strategy by, I don't know, by running 10,000 ads, you may not have the budget for 10,000 ads, but guess what? You might be a fantastic speaker. You may be the kind of person that, you know, if I can get 5 conferences and go speak at those conferences and tell them about what I'm doing, oh my God, I'm going to kill it. Like, that becomes your strategy. It's like, okay, how can I find 5 conferences I'm going to go speak at? And I'm going to prioritize that as my go-to-market, right? As opposed to trying to do what somebody else did. Does that make sense? I don't know if that has answered your question. Those are my 2 points, really.
Oh, okay. No, thank you very much. It made a lot of sense. It answers quite well to what I needed an answer for.
Okay, I have a question. You surely don't have much time left, but it's a quick one. Please, how do you know the good investor? Is it just a gut feeling, or maybe you have a set of metrics to identify the potential good ones or maybe the bad ones, or maybe based on experience and maybe like experience of other founders or other deals that have been closed? So maybe you can short and please on that, please.
You sound very far away and mute, by the way, but I got the question. I think the answer is all of the above. Everything you said, right, is how you know a good investor. So it starts by, first of all, what you want to build, right? What you currently have and what you believe your gaps are, right? Because usually at early stage, you think you want money, but money is not the only thing you need. You probably need money, but you also need a network. You also need potentially advisors. You need whatever. So it's making a list of all the gaps or opportunities. So if you did the SWOT analysis that we talked about, you would have found your opportunities and your threats, right? Is have the and your weaknesses. It's having those very clearly defined. And then based on that, as you talk to investors, you're pitching your startup to them. They will probably want to do due diligence on you. You have to do the same due diligence on them, right? So thank you for being interested in my startup, Mr. Investor. Here is what I'm looking for. What are your thoughts? They'll tell you what they can offer and what valuation that they have for you. But you also be asking them, like, so what other services would you be, or what other support would you be willing to give me? Would you be looking to take a board seat? Because most of them probably want to take a board seat on your board. If they're taking a board seat on your board, like, who in your company are you going to allocate to come on my board, right? Are they going to get the most junior person in the company and just put them on the board? Because then is that what you want? Because if what you want is actually the advice, the support, the coaching, then maybe that's not a fit for you, right? Number one. And then also it is you check in the other investors, other founders that they've invested in. How did they behave with those founders? Like, did they keep their words to those founders? Did they support the founders? Like, getting the reviews from those past founders that they worked with historically. So it's a two-way due diligence, right? It's not the first person to throw money at me, you just take it. Does that answer the question? I'm sorry, I want to say the name, but I don't want to get it wrong. Nadu? Why are you so far away? I don't know why you're far away, but hopefully, give me a thumbs up if that makes sense.
Okay, I know that makes perfect sense to me. Sorry about my mic, maybe the sound system. I'm going to fix that for next call.
No problem. We've got a baby singing, starting me out.
Sorry.
Someone, is there any other question?
Yeah,
yes, Bertrand. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes,
Bertrand.
Yes, go ahead, Bertrand. Yes.
Bertrand, okay. Yes, good evening, Yemi. Thank you for the presentation. But actually, I want to go back to something you said.
Oh man, dodgy internet. We lost you. Oh, I lost you, I should say. Don't know if you guys can hear.
Hello,
Let
Bertrand.
me respond to Sally's
Still
question.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we lost you, Bertrand. You have to ask your question again. Hello? Hello, Bertrand. Can you hear us? Oh no, he dropped altogether. Sally, you have a question.
So I'm really happy with everything that Yemi has explained. So in my part, I feel like that everything she said, I'm doing too much. But then I really feel like the NGO aspect is helping me go to the customers rather than letting them come to me. So I cannot really tell the difference at this point between the NGO and the company that I'm trying to build.
I don't understand that. I understood the thing you put on the chat, Sally, and I just responded to that. So I think you said that you're finding it difficult to find traction because you're selling natural juices and organic products to a few customers through your NGO. I read that to mean that because usually when this happens, right, essentially what you're saying is you haven't found product market fit. You think you have a solution, but you don't have a repeatable way of consistently selling your solution to who you think your customer is. So you're not getting the traction that you want. Is that correct? Is that what you mean? Have I lost Sally as well? Let's get her away.
Connection is poor in Cameroon.
I think Bertrand is back. Okay, let's go Bertrand until Sally gets back.
Yes,
Hello, sir. Okay, go on.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yemi, I wanted to come back to something you said very early. When you wanted Ashu to make his 1 minute pitch, including targets, program, business models, and those on. So I was wondering how it is possible to make a 1 minute pitch with all these ingredients.
It's very possible because here's what I can, so for example, I can tell you something like this is in the startup world, people raise funding all the time. And here's the problem. Once they've raised the funding and they want to go to market, it's hard to then come up with structure of how to go to market and how to enter the, let's start again. Let's be trying to run off the cuff. Let's start again. So it's the problem I'm trying to define is this. The problem is startups struggle to enter into new international markets. They're usually very successful in their home markets, but once it comes to going to international expansion, they start to struggle. My solution is to help startups expand internationally by, first of all, defining the end-to-end processes front to back, and then understanding the regulatory framework of the various markets they're trying to enter, and then matching the two together, and also building strategic partnerships. I have been able to successfully do this now for the last 10 startups I've worked with. I've helped them expand to Dubai, to the UAE, and also to parts of Africa sustainably. Those launches have been successful and we've been able to attract customers from day zero. I'm now looking to expand my team by attracting a head of partnerships and a head of blah, blah, blah. In the next 2 weeks, I'm looking for support to raise $10 million to help me with this project. My background is investment banking, and I have all these fancy MBAs and fancy degrees. So I think I'm going to be successful. Thank you very much. How long did that take?
I did not
that was all made up, by the way.
There's something around 1 minute. But last time I tried it, I went up to 12 minutes.
Wow, whoa, what are you writing? A PhD?
No, just because I did not want to read my pitch. I was trying to say it offhand, and it took me too long.
There. You put me on the spot there, by the way, because that was all made up. And hopefully you saw that I struggled because I started off and I was like, oh, okay, I don't even know what I'm saying. Let me get my thoughts together first.
You are.
Right. So I think it's practice, right? If it takes you there's a quote that says, if you can't explain something in the way that a 5-year-old understands, then you don't understand the problem well enough. Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so thank you for agreeing, because that's what it means, right? It means you need to spend some more time really understanding the problem.
Yes, but the problem is that if I try to cram my 1 minute now, and I know that's going to change and iterate all the time, Why would I cram it now? Well, I know that in like 4 weeks time, I'll have to change it.
You're not cramming anything. You're basically your 1 minute pitch is your 5 minutes of fame, right? You're spending all this time working on this thing all day long. You're here to showcase what you've been doing. So it shouldn't be crammed. In fact, if it's crammed, it feels, I just did it for you, right? What I explained to you is what essentially I do with growth stage stuff. I'm not looking for fun or anything. That was why I had to BS the record. Like, I don't really know I don't want anything. But I do this all day long. Do you see what I mean? So it's like, because it's simple. It's like, what is the problem that you're solving? What is your potential solution? How are you making money? Or how are you charging people for it? What traction have you made? And what do you want? That's it.
Yeah, yes, but I work in French. I work in French. So I can say it easily in French. I can say it easily in French. But when it comes to English, I have to think twice.
Okay, that's fair. Like I say, I give credit to.
But okay, but I've got you. You know,
yeah.
I've got you. I've understood very well. So it needs practicing. Yes, I'll keep on practicing. I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, well done. Sally, you're back.
I yield the microphone.
Yes, I'm back, Yemi. So definitely my case is like, anytime I go out for an outreach, I sell natural juice today, then organic product tomorrow. So I can't really tell what exactly my customers want, but then I feel both are really healthy. So that's the complication.
Okay, so the good thing, Sally, is that you already have customers. So what you need to do is talk to the existing customers that you have, the guys that have bought from you, ask them, why did you buy from me? It sounds like a silly question, right? Is what about my product was attractive to you? What do you like about it? Number one. Number two, look at all the customers you have. What is the similarity across all of them? Are they all same mothers? Are they all students? What is the similar demographic that you have identified, right? And then try and marry the two. Because if, for example, you find that all your customers tend to be newborn moms, right? And they tell you they like to buy your product because the doctor told them that they have to drink healthy because it helps them with breastfeeding and it's improving their baby's health. Guess what? You now have a niche. Your niche is I sell organic healthy products to newborn moms to help them with their breastfeeding and blah, 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 right? And because you know who you're selling it to, you know the outcome that they get by buying your product, it's easier to keep rinsing and repeating. And in fact, you can probably increase your prices because now it's a specialist product, right? It's no longer just juices. It is juices to help newborn moms with breastfeeding. Does that make sense? So that's what I'll do is talk to your customers to know why are they buying it. And then you observe and see what's the main demographic that's buying.
All right, Yemi. Thank you so much. I get it.
Great. We are. I think we have reached the second hour of this session. So, do anyone have a last question for Yemi before we wrap up?
Yes, I do have a question, and I think it's very important for me to pretty much understand the direction of the Founder Institute program. I did read on about it, and for the app that I presented to you, I'm working with a partner, but I somewhat explained to him that the Founder Institute program will qualify you and your idea to be a fundable, bankable, and investable business. In short, that's how I put it. But they don't just give you the knowledge, the training, or the practical expertise that you need to run a successful and profitable business that's scaled up to a global level. They also open the door for you to potential investors. In other words, they provide an investor platform. So I don't know if I said it right to my partner, but I just want to understand, apart from all of this, what we're going through now and after the cohort, throughout to the end of the cohort, is there going to be a platform where ideas are being handed over, or founders are being handed over to potential investors, and those investors invest, like in the cases of how Udemy got funds, from my understanding? That's my question.
Okay, I'll take that one. So, Terence, after you, first of all, the first step for you is to be able to graduate from this core accelerator program, right? And once you've been able to successfully graduate from this core accelerator program, then you are now a Founder Institute graduate, and from that perspective, you are entitled to a lifetime support from the Founder Institute. And the next support program that you have is what we call Founders Lab. So the idea of the Founders Lab is really to help you to take your business through a stage where it is investable. So this is in terms of helping you reach the product market fit, helping you both continue to improve your pitch deck and your ability to pitch, and then be able to connect you to the right potential investor in the Founder Institute venture network, as Yemi was explaining, which are either angel investor or VCs that either were born out of the VC lab of the Founder Institute or have the habit to collaborate with the Founder Institute. So this is more or less the process and how it unfolds. Not sure if it's clarified for you.
Oh, okay, so you eventually are going to get to a point where you're given a platform of investors once you successfully graduate and complete each necessary. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. But this would also, and I want to be very transparent, this will also be related to the quality of your business idea and the way you are able to make it progress, right? Because after all, those people are investors, right? So when they invest some money in your company, they are expecting a return. Okay, so your company needs to be investable in the sense that you need to be able to present an investment opportunity that makes sense for them, and you as the founder, especially at this early stage, you need to show that you have what it takes to be able to drive the vision that you are presenting and to transform it into reality. This is why they will invest, and if they do not see that, they will not invest. So it is not like just because you have graduated from the Founder Institute, they will invest in you. This is not the case. Your business needs to be sound and it needs to make sense from an investor perspective to put money in there. If this is not the case, of course, you won't attract much investors. Does it make sense?
All right, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Makes sense.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, I think we are done for today, and really thank you very much, Yemi, for making the time and for sharing all your insights and your experience with our founders here. I think it has been very beneficial to a lot of them. Again, the recording would be available in a few days, and it will be shared with you guys. And also, Yemi, you'll be sharing the slides, right? And
yeah, I'm gonna put the link to it right now on the chat.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, great. So you guys can have access to it directly.
Yeah, Yemi, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for all the questions. I love that you guys are very engaged.
Okay, so thanks everybody, and see you next week for the next session, which will be customer development.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Though some assignments have changed.
Oh, please, Yemi, please, are you currently based in Lagos?
No, I'm in the UK right now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.